Welcome back to, frankly, a character breakdown that we weren't sure we were ever going to make. The character of Vic the Veep was, at best, a very supplemental character in the comic books, but it appears that The Boys is going to be taking a very different path with this character. Today's video is going to cover Victoria Neuman, otherwise known in the comics as Victor Neuman, or Vic the Veep. But as with our other videos, we are going to be giving away a couple copies of The Boys Volume 1, and in order to enter, all you have to do is follow us on Twitter, both members of Key Issues, myself, Nick, and Garrick, and that info is pinned down in the comments section. That's it. Now let's get back to our video. Victor Neuman's first appearance was in The Boys number 6, where much like Stormfront, we are introduced to a very different version of this character than we see in the show. First and foremost, much like Stormfront, you'll immediately notice that the character has been gender swapped for the show. Victor Neuman is a man in the comics, while in the show the character of Victoria Neuman seems to be a character that's modeled somewhat off of the real-life Senator Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, in that she's a young, driven, and outspoken senator with larger political aspirations. Additionally, in the show, the character has super abilities, which, if you finish the season, you're already aware of what those abilities are. In the show, Victoria is capable of causing spontaneous combustion in humans. In the comics, Victor does not have this ability. He's just a regular human being with no superpowers. In fact, he's probably below average, and we'll get to that later, but that doesn't mean that he's not a very powerful individual. Earlier in the episode, we referred to Victor as Vic the Veep. Vic the Veep is slang, of course, for Victor the Vice President. Victor is the Vice President under Dakota Bob Schaefer, the president within the fictional world of The Boys, who's also shown in The Boys TV show as a senator. Victor is essentially a glorified corporate plant within the world of The Boys. It's heavily implied throughout the majority of the series that Victor's entire family is working with or for Vought directly. It's even stated in issue 6 that at one point Victor was the CEO of Vought, which is fairly interesting considering what we learn about Victor as the series progresses. Victor is, for lack of a better term, nothing more than a pawn at the control of the Vought Corporation. He works directly for them and does whatever they want, helping to push through legislation that's beneficial to Vought. He's often implied to be mentally handicapped and shown to have well below average intelligence. His lack of intelligence allows Vought to enact their own personally beneficial legislation through Victor. The ultimate goal of Vought throughout the series is to assassinate President Dakota Bob and implant Vic as the president. Now, why would Vought want to do that? It's pretty simple. Dakota Bob is a direct adversary to Vought. He does not trust or like superheroes at all. He views them as a worldwide threat to humanity, and his executive order was directly responsible for the formation of the Boys, in order to monitor and police superpowered people. Vought, on the other hand, wishes to get superpowered individuals added to the national defense system in order to improve their own stock and earnings. Dakota Bob and Vic the Veep are essentially supposed to show how deceitful modern politics can be. Dakota Bob hates Vic due to his obvious lack of credentials for the job, but he was forced to take him as his running mate and ultimate vice president by the Republican Party. Probably the most significant action of Vic the Veep in the comic book world was knocking out Dakota Bob during the 9/11 attacks that led to the destruction of the Brooklyn Bridge. Dakota Bob was ordering the effective stoppage of the hijacking, and Vic, on the orders of Vought, was able to knock out Bob before the fourth and final plane was stopped. The reasoning behind this was that Vought wanted to let their superheroes have a crack at stopping the hijacking. Vic the Veep orders the United States Air Force to stand down right before they could have shot down the fourth plane and saved a lot of lives. However, if you've seen our video on Homelander, you know that this did not go as planned. The Seven have no formal training in this type of rescue operation, and because their skills and abilities have been grossly miscommunicated between Vought and the general public, they failed miserably, and a lot of people died when the plane crashed into the Brooklyn Bridge. Officially, Dakota Bob was able to cover up the Seven's involvement by saying that the Air Force did successfully shoot down the fourth plane, but not in time, causing the crash. However, the actions of Vought raised multiple alarms with Bob, and he began to take considerable precautions not to get caught off guard again. However, all of these precautions were essentially for nothing, because in issue 60, Dakota Bob is killed by a Wolverine. No, not that Wolverine. The White House was having a meet and greet / press event where children were showing off exotic animals that they cared for as pets. and the president's going from child to child when Vic accidentally lets loose a Wolverine. This Wolverine belonged to one of the children. The Wolverine gets out of its cage because Vic believed that it was his dog, Mr. Fuzzy Wuzzy. The Wolverine was very scared and it lunged at and killed the president. Entirely unintentionally, the killing actually aggravated Vought, who had spent months attempting to infiltrate the Secret Service with their own men to assassinate the president at a time of their choosing. However, Vic the Veep is nonetheless sworn in as president. His presidential run isn't very long though, as just a few short issues later, Homelander launches a coup d'etat to overthrow the US government. In the process, the first thing he does is to decapitate Vic the Veep. Homelander is shown holding his decapitated head and sitting in a president's chair. This also happens to be the same issue that he has his climactic final showdown with Butcher in Black Noir. This ends the life and involvement of Vic the Veep in the Boys universe. And that's it for the character's comic book history. However, it's obvious that the character in the show is going to be far more developed. Her arc will probably be very similar, with her being a Vought plant who's acting as a double agent working against Vought but secretly for them in order to advance her own political agenda and career. Thank you guys for taking the time to check out this video, and if you enjoyed it, feel free to give it a thumbs up and make sure you leave a comment below. This has been Nick with Key Issues, and remember the motto, Vic the Veep over everything.